Okay, so good customer experience and bad. Um, the good that actually just happened this week on Wednesday. I was at work working the ambulance. A trucker, we got a call for a trucker at the Petro ear issue. Um, so, so of course we show up and he meets us outside and he says, "I'm the one that you're looking for." Of course, I kind of find out. He said, he's like, I was hoping because I'm just looking for an urgent care. He'd been having the same issue for about 3 weeks, taking drops. I'm assuming from a doctor. I'm assuming he was seen by one already, and so he said that they weren't helping. I don't know where he was from, but he said, he was away from home. Obviously. So basically, he didn't call. The workers did. You know how that goes. But he said, "I was hoping." He goes, "I'm actually looking for an urgent care." And so we told him, around here, anyways, where I work, we can only take him to the ER. We can't. We explained to him like we can't take you to an urgent care. And we said we'd be more than happy to take you in, if you want to go to ER. And he said, "Well," he goes, "I don't." He goes, "I don't want to go to ER." He goes, "I don't want to rack up a big bill just for this, And he said, I don't want that." He goes, "I just want an urgent care." And so we said, we totally to get you. I don't even go to the doctor for anything, let alone the ER. So I would be the same way. Um, so so instead of just saying like, "Well, okay, we gotta have you sign a refusal, get your information," and we could have told him how to get there. We didn't tell him. We said, "Well, we got more than one urgent care. There's a couple toward the hospital." And he said, "Well, I'm in a semi, so I need to make sure I have room." And we said, "Well, there's actually one out there, kind of on the edge of town, over by Menards, Buffalo, and Wild Wings." And so we said, "There's plenty of room for you to park there." So I said, "How about this?" I said, "How about you just like follow us and we'll show you. We'll take you there." And he's like, "Oh, okay, great." So he hopped in his rig and we hopped in ours and he followed us over there. So I thought it was kind of interesting that that happened just this week. So I was able to actually tell that part. It was right on the topic. Actually, right when we got done with the call, that popped in my head. I was like, "All right, cool. I have something that I can talk about. Because it's kind of hard for me to talk about that kind of stuff. Like I don't like to be in the spotlight. I don't like to talk about that kind of stuff. So that's the good. The bad, I'm gonna actually talk about kind of more than just one bad, and not just me. Pretty much, us. In general. I'm the type of person that I don't really dwell on a whole lot. I came into this back in '04 and pretty much had good teachers and role models, sorry, and the mentors that, pretty much taught me right off the bat that, like, you're going to piss people off. You're going to make them mad. Don't dwell on it. So I don't dwell on that. So that's why I kind of decided to talk about just like kind of like more than one thing and not just about me because I know I'm gonna make the people mad. I have in the past, and I know I will. And I don't really dwell on that because I feel like if I do get to that point, I usually have a good reason. Okay, and it's not that I don't think I'm really being mean. I'm just honest. I'm a very honest person and a logical. But the kind of calls that can give off a bad customer experience, especially with like a family, is one for like the regulars, the frequent flyers. The more you go to and the more they abuse the like system, the more it's harder to even show any compassion or that you even care. Not that I don't ever hinder care, and I know a lot of people don't. It's just that your facial expressions, your body language, and that kind of stuff, especially to family, especially to like a family that may not know or realize and aren't around every day, that don't realize how many times they may call you for the same thing or even the multiple things that end up being, a bull. So it's so to the family, they expect that to them, if their family member is calling a 911, it isn't an emergency. So they don't. Sometimes it's hard for the people that, especially if you don't work in this kind of line of work and are not around it, you just don't. It's hard to get that, and so they feel like you're being rude or disrespectful. And like I said, it's not that you're hindering the care. I don't, and I know most don't. It's just that your compassion, your expressions don't show it. So that can be one that probably a common one that people can complain about. So also like true emergency type calls, especially depending on how much help you have. Working in a rural area like I do, and a lot of people do. It just depends if you have first responders or if you have a lot of times you don't have an extra rig to back you up. So if it's just you and your partner, sometimes it's hard to, like the family members wanting information, gotten questions, and you're doing your best just to try to answer them while you're working on this emergency, And so I think a lot of times the family kind of feels disrespected and kind of feels like nobody was listening to them or paying attention when really you were. And most people can probably tell you exactly what they were asking or saying. It's just that just because you weren't looking at them, answering them, and standing with them, they feel like they were disrespected. And I think that happens to all of us. And it's not, a lot of times it's just out of our hands, I think. It's easy to forget about that, because we're focused on why we're there, right? And so I think a lot of times that kind of gets misread by family members. Actually, one call that I kind of just popped in my head is that did happen is like a Walmart one time. This has been a few years ago. Responding there on an emergency call, and actually the staff ended up calling. I think before even we made it back, and the Walmart from the hospital was only like maybe 4 miles away. And before we got back, the staff had called in and complained because it's not like on TV and the movies, as we all know. But a lot of the people, the lay public, don't realize that. And so we respond, we get there, and basically their complaint was we weren't running. They feel like we should have been running. First of all, they didn't meet us at the door, but we didn't know where the patient was. They didn't follow us in to show us. I think they did try to say like aisle, I don't know, like 11 or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but who knows that, right? Like when I go shopping, I don't memorize aisles by that. I know where things are at, or I look on the signs where it says like coffee and that kind of stuff. I don't go by numbers. So, me and my partner had no clue where the aisle was. So we're looking back at them like, are you going to come show us? And then even then, of course, they showed us, and since we weren't running per se, rushing, they called the complaint, and that's another thing that kind of a lot of your lay public feels disrespected because they watch TV, the movies, and that kind of stuff, and of course everybody runs, right? So not that we're doing anything wrong, it's just that they don't get it. So that was probably a thing, I guess, an example of what they thought was bad customer experience. It really wasn't. It's just that we're taught to be calm, right? Calm and do our job. So, anyways, I think a lot of the stuff kind of just is just that family and even maybe patients just don't get it, because they're not around this a lot. I know there are people out there and there's calls that they really do have a legit argument over it, but I think that's just some of the stuff that happens to all of us and will continue to happen for bad experiences. So anyways, that's my good and that's my bad.